Well, welcome everyone to the podcast for Voices of Integrity for Marriage. This is Mark and Rosanna. So, have you enjoyed the Amiable podcast and then the Analytic and then the Expressive podcast? Oh my gracious, you're going to enjoy this one. This is like, officially there's no better personality than, than others. That's the official statement. But Rosanna's, might disagree. She would think that, that the driver might be the most amazing personality on the planet. And why is that, Rosanna? Why would you say, like, a lot of times people don't like drivers and, they think they're mean and cruel and nasty creatures, so arrogant and rude. Like, there's so many negative, feelings about the driver, but you have a very, very different perspective. Why is that, Rosanna?
Well, maybe because I'm married to one and because, boy, that driver, he gets things done. And he knows he's on top of things. I don't have to worry about him. I don't have to push him. He gets things done. So I'll say the driver's got some qualities that maybe rub people the wrong way, but underneath, they're pretty much marshmallow.
So, so the driver is like the analytic and they're focused on the task, very heavy task oriented. And so 75% of men will be driver analytic, 25% of women, 75% of women tend to be expressive or amiable, 25% of men. And a lot of the things, gender stereotypes, are they really gender stereotypes or are they just, personality stereotypes? Which a stereotype is what is it? It's something common, among a group of people. And so people get all upset about, stuff like, you're stereotyping me. Well, why is that? It's because people in that group of people tend to go ahead and be these types of things. And so, so the drivers like the analytic, very task driven, but they're more assertive, they're more aggressive. So they push things a lot more than the analytic. They're like the expressive personality, or they're assertive, but the driver is going to be assertive with tasks, and the analytics or the expressive is going to be assertive with people. And then the opposite of the analytic is going to be the amiable. So if you chose, the pyramid or out of control, you'd tend to be a driver personality. So one of your greatest strengths might be your drive, your assertiveness, you make things happen. One of your weaknesses might be your drive, your assertiveness, you make things happen. Our greatest strength is our greatest weakness, and our greatest weakness is just our greatest strength. Misapplied is taking a strength and carrying it too far. And so the driver will tend to be attracted. So we tend, as we've learned in previous ones, the driver will tend to go ahead and be, so we tend to like people who are like us, and we tend to fall in love with people who are opposite of us. And so that is with my wife and I. And so, so Rosanna is an amiable, analytic, kind of amiable, expressive, double amiable. So very, very strong amiable. And I would be the driver. So, what attracted me to her, first time I saw her, fell in love with her, like love at first sight. Um, and I could just feel her energy. I'm like, she is going to make the nicest, like, wife in the world. And she is going to make the kindest, most loving mom in the world. So she is a woman of my dreams. So boom, we're dating and then we're engaged. What's drawn to her, what draws her to me, or me to her, is I'm, like she said at the beginning, like, I'm driven. I'm a protector. I have goals. I'm going to pursue those goals. I'm going to watch over her and the kids, and I'm going to make things happen. And I'm going to make sure that my kids and my wife don't get hurt. So a fearless protector, a warrior. And then we get married. And the very things that draw us together are the very things that, push us apart. And so, um, and so what do I think about her? is she's late to everything. I mean, like everything. And so, I'm pretty sure somewhere in the Bible it says if you're late, you're going to go to hell. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a moral issue. Like you don't be late. You just don't. You don't be late. And you don't have excuses. You just do things. And so, and then the kids take advantage of her. Like I know there's 7 of them, but it's not like you're the parent, they're the kids. And so all the things that drew me to her are the very things that put us apart. And so I just think she's just, and then she lies. I mean, it doesn't look like it's lying to her. Like she won't tell the truth and she thinks that's being nice. This is a foreign concept. Even after 39 years of marriage, I don't understand. Like I'll ask her a question and she won't tell me the truth. And it's like, I find out later, why didn't you tell me that? And she's like, well, I was just being nice. How is lying being nice? So the amiable, like it's just like a total of her brain. It's just like, what? And so we get married. I just like, oh, she drives me insane. What does she think of me? He's a jerk.
He's a jerk.
He's a jerk. Like he doesn't care about
Doesn't
me.
he care about being, I mean, just because he cares about being on time, doesn't he care that his kids have their snacks and that things are done right before we leave the house? I mean, what's the issue here?
Yeah, no, the kids can have the snacks as long as they're not late. Don't be late. Don't be late and don't come up with excuses. I mean, no, like don't. Like figure it out, have a plan, follow the plan. What about people being happy? You know what? If we hit our goals, if we accomplish what we want to accomplish, people be happy. So you can see how there's tension. You'd think after 39 years of marriage that there wouldn't, but you should have seen us on Thanksgiving. My wife would not like me to talk about Thanksgiving, at our daughter and our granddaughter. She would not. Why? Because the amiable cares about what people think about him. The driver, not so much, and so the very things that is drawn, like she's drawn to, is very things that she pushed away. Same thing. And so if you're like, Rosanna, what suggestion would you give to someone who's married to an amiable or to a driver personality?
Don't explain yourself. Just do what
Background
you're
noise. I don't know what's going
supposed to
on
do.
there. Like the driver's like, why is there background noise? There shouldn't be anything going on. Focus on this. Like, this is the task. Like, do this. Now, just the task here. Okay, the task here. See that this is what the amiable and expressive don't understand. The people, they don't understand it. It's like tasker people are tasks. Like if you don't get the task done, that's hurting people. But that's not what
Right.
the amiable and expressive, that's not how they do it. So what would you suggest for if you're married
I
to,
would suggest, learning to see what the driver makes them tick and trying to come close to understanding that that is important to them. And because you enjoy the fact that things are getting done and things are getting driven forward, how can you help the driver accomplish those goals um, in a nice way?
yeah. So what she wants to do, because it's a nice thing to do, because the amiable, amiable and women, they're super, super nice. And so she's going to ask me a question.
So, what would you suggest, Mr. Driver Man, on how a driver can help an amiable accomplish a great marriage?
Yeah, beat the living daylights out of him emotionally. No, I mean, it's weird. Like all the women are like, I'm glad I'm not married to him. No, you'd like to be married to me. I'm just saying. Like everybody thinks that Rosanna is like this nice, sweet, sensitive person, and they think that I'm this really mean ogre, this really mean person. But if you were to say, Rosanna, like who's more caring, you or me, who would you say?
I would say you are.
And why?
Because I think, at least for me, um, I tend to care about what I need to get done and what I need to do, and sometimes I overlook the other people around me. So it becomes more about, I think I'm more selfish.
So, we're finishing up our fourth decade of marriage. So, we've been married 39 years. And so, like Rosanna, like if you're married to an amiable, like I'm supposed to say, well, be nice. But my experience is when you're nice, they're often not. They're just not. Maybe the first few years or decades, I don't know. It's like they are. They're very self-centered, self-absorbed, narcissist. It's crazy what they are. They really are that way, and nobody tells them that. Like everybody tells them, something different. So they're not self-aware. And so helping them to realize, you're not that caring. You're just not. Like, and so again, it's counterintuitive. So you like the, amiable and the analytic and the expressive. You're not going to like to stay away from the driver because the driver's just going to tell you the truth. Like and my mom, when she was dying of cancer and she had a tumor, in her stomach, and my dad died, after 55 years of marriage, and I'd date her, I'd go out with her, and I'd tell her, I'd say, Mom, women just drive me crazy. They just absolutely do. And she'd laugh, and then she'd say, why? And I'm like, women are this and this and this. She's like, women aren't like that, Mark. They're not like that. She'd get all poosty with me. She'd get all upset. But what I loved about my mom is she'd come back like in a few days and she said, I've been thinking about what you said, Mark. And you're right. Women are like this. And so I think a lot of it goes back to, when we were dating, and she and Rosanna said that my dad is sexually, abused me, and I'm 19 years old, 18, 19. What am I supposed to do with that? And he's a good Christian guy, going to a church and everything. So I asked him, is it going on? Is it still going on? And she's like, no. Like, okay. So I tried to get more information, but it didn't come out. Like I couldn't figure out like what's going on. Like what is going on? It doesn't make sense. Then we got engaged, and I'll never forget, at 19 years old, I'll never forget when she looked at me and she said, it started up again. And so here I'm engaged to her, and my future father-in-law is sexually abusing her. And I really liked him. Still do, actually. But he's a goofball. Like, he probably should be in prison. He really should. And so I was hurt and angry and upset. And she lived about 45 minutes from us. And so she was over the weekend. I went and I confronted him, and he admitted it. He said, yes, I'm sorry. It won't ever happen again. And we'll probably talk about that. We can talk about that in the future in some of them. But that day I became a warrior. Like Rosanna wanted to stop it, but she couldn't. Took us 35 years and her going through a whole bunch of therapy and counseling and everything to find out, it started when it was 12. We thought it happened maybe a year or two. We never even dreamed it happened when she was 12 years old. So her counselor, after many counselors said, I think you have disassociation. And so she and I went through a whole bunch of work. Holy cow, so many stories. And so, so she wanted to stop it. It's like an addiction. Her dad, he didn't want to do it. He's addicted to it. And her mom, when we confronted him, he acknowledged it. Mom came in, said something to her. She said all dads do it. So her dad did it. It's like generational stuff. And so it's messy. marriage is messy. It just is. It just is. There's a whole bunch of messy stuff. And so, podcasts for marriages is there's, hopefully you're going to laugh and you're going to go, oh, and you're going to cry and you're going to be healed and your marriage is going to be healed. Like that's what we both want. So, I put a stop to that. Never happened again to her. Mom wanted to stop it, but her mom couldn't stop it. Like everybody was helpless, but I wasn't. It empowered me. And I have a heart for her dad. I have a heart for dads who are, sexually abusing their daughters. I just crush them. Yeah, put them in prison. Like just no, but they likely had been abused and there's a whole bunch and there's not reasons. It's just stop it. Like I think every father, when he has a daughter, and we have 4 daughters and 3 sons and 8 grandchildren, I think every father ought to go ahead and listen to my story about my wife and the damage that her dad and her mom did to her, and how that not only hurt her, but it hurt our children. And it could have destroyed our marriage. But it didn't. It actually made it stronger. So again, we tend to judge, we tend to judge. All of us judge. Every one of us judge. And you might judge more than anybody else. You're just not as honest as the driver is. The driver's going to be honest. So you know where you stand with them. So hopefully, this one's helpful. The next one we'll do, I think, is going to be the chameleon personality. And so, share this with other people. And then, definitely go ahead and register your, share it through Facebook and then register it somewhere on here. You can go all the way to the bottom and then go to questions 3.1. No, somewhere in here. 2.2. So you can share your questions here. So what questions do you have? And we'll take questions. There's a whole bunch of questions that have already come in. And so we're going to be taking those questions as well. And so, here's some of the questions in the Q&A. So these are going to be things in the future. And we want to have your questions and take a look at your personality and your spouse's personality. If you're dating, I wish somebody had taught us about the first 2 years we were married. Oh my gracious, that was messy. Fun. without question, a lot of fun.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. So much fun, but so much hurt too, because we just didn't know. It was all clunky. And then you go into the marriage with some of the stuff that, that we had going into the marriage too. And that made it even harder. Like, it's a miracle that we made it, and we're very happy. And our passion is to help you. Like, marriage is just such a beautiful thing. It really, really, really is. And so my wife says that I'm an acquired taste. What that means is that, what you think I am is probably very different than who I really am. And I think that's true with a lot of people. And so, share this with other people. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Definitely register for the mobile app. That'll give you some great resources as well. And we can always accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.